Hello! I am doing another one of these. I guess we'll call this my Christmickups video, a combination of items that I picked up in the latter half of December, combined with items that I received from people who either love me or pretend to love me for Christmas. And so I'm actually going to start not with video games, but with a few items that I got as Christmas gifts. And it's from people who know me, who love me, who know that I'm an empty man-child and I need things to fill the void in my soul. So the first item relates to Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I love Halloween 3. It's such a weird movie. I know it's somewhat hipsterish to like Halloween 3, or at least it used to be. I think it's gaining more traction and more understanding as time goes on. But I love this movie. It's such a weird movie. It's a combination of, the computer age of the 1980s with ancient witchcraft. It has the main villain play the old man in RoboCop. It's such a weird product of its time, and I absolutely adore it. I used to watch all of the Halloween movies with my mom. Halloween 1, excellent. Halloween 2, not as great, but still, kind of frightening for a kid. Halloween 3, this weird-ass movie. And then 4, 5, and 6. And so I always loved Halloween 3. On the back, you have the Silver Shamrock branding. Of course, they use London Bridge is Falling Down with the Silver Shamrock lyrics to make an earworm that will never get out of your head. And so what is this? Well, what man-child is complete without action figures? And we have here the children ready for the big giveaway at 9 with their heads about to turn into snakes and bugs. You have alternate heads where their heads are turning into snakes and bugs. And I will absolutely love Halloween 3 until my head is filled with snakes and bugs. What's next? This is a gift that caught me off guard. Got this from an old friend of mine, known each other for years. He knows I love Star Wars. Of course, he knows I love the original trilogy. Knows some of my favorite characters. And I have no idea how he stumbled upon this, but I've got this item. I got it with its certificate of authenticity. There's obviously a few hundred of these in existence, but I was just really blown away that I got this, and so I appreciate it. He clearly spent more on my gift than I spent on his, and so that means next year I have to do a better job. Thanks, Austin. But what I got is this. It is just kind of your run-of-the-mill play Boba Fett helmet, but if you'll notice, it's labeled right here on the side, number 123 of 300, and that's because right here on this nameplate, it's signed by Temuera Morrison, who I enjoy as Boba Fett. I know that there's some question now, especially after the book of Boba Fett was, shall we say, controversial, but I've always liked Morrison in the role. I know a lot of people don't like the retroactive changes, getting rid of the original voice actor for Boba Fett, but Morrison has always seemed to be like a really, nice guy, really avid to be in the series. Of course, he did a lot of the video games. I still remember his narration for the original Star Wars Battlefront 2 and how well that was done. And so I've always appreciated him as an actor. I appreciate him as Boba Fett. And so now I have a little signed plaque and a helmet signed by Boba Fett. So yeah, I'll put on the helmet and take off my glasses because I don't want to break them. And so yeah, here's me being a almost 30-year-old man wearing a Child's Play helmet signed by a Maori actor. And I will put that over there. So yeah, moving on to video games. I'm going to start with probably the worst thing I picked up. And the fact that it makes this video is just a testament to how kind of ridiculous this is. And it's Dolman for the Xbox Series X. Or Xbox One, if you want to play Dolman on your original VCR Xbox One, you can try. This game, I have not played it yet, but it is reviewed absolutely terrible. It's a Soulsborne game. The only reason I have it, if you'll notice, it says that it's $10. And that's because I was able to pick up this game basically because I needed some extra weight in the shopping cart to get free shipping. And ultimately, I did pay more a little bit in adding this to the cart, but I basically got Dolman here for $3. So maybe sometime when I have a bored afternoon, I will give Dolman a try and see if it really is as bad as people say or as boring as people say. That seems to be the number one criticism of this game, is how boring and just nothing this game is. Moving on. I have two games here that I picked up very similar to Dolmen, but they're not as poorly reviewed as Dolmen. So I was having a Christmas party, the same Christmas party where a friend gave me the Boba Fett helmet. And I received a message from him, and he said, "Can we play Star Wars Battlefront?" Now, of course, I asked him, "Do you want to play, the original, or do you want to play the remake?" And of course, he wanted to play the originals. And I said, "Okay, that'll be no problem." Well, I walked into my bedroom, and I realized that years ago I had given away my copy of Star Wars Battlefront on original Xbox, which is what we used to play on. And sin on me for getting rid of a game that I, honest to God, have no idea where my original Xbox went. I remember giving away a few of the games, but I'm kind of rebuilding that collection. But for a game as popular as Star Wars Battlefront, it's not high on the list of something that I'm going to pick up. And then I did have Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2 for PlayStation 2. The problem is I only had one PlayStation 2 controller. So I decided to go and visit a local game store, and I walked in with the decision that I'm either walking out of here with a PlayStation 2 controller, or I'm walking out of here with a copy of Star Wars Battlefront 2 on Xbox, or maybe Star Wars Battlefront 1. He wanted to play 2. I know he wanted to play 2. But that was kind of my decision. So I went in there, and oddly enough, for all of the times I have seen Star Wars Battlefront 2 on a shelf for original Xbox, didn't see it this time. So on the shelf, there was a third-party PS2 controller. Fine, that'll work. This is just for a party. Most of the time, it's just me in my apartment, sad and alone, and so I don't play a lot of multiplayer games anymore. So I bought this controller, or I was going to buy this controller, and there was a sign there that said if you buy 2 items, you get something of equal or lesser value free. And this controller was about $12. And so I looked around to find, other items to have it worth buying. That's how they get you, but I was going to buy something else there anyway. I always buy something there. And these folks are always really nice to me, so whatever, I'll be a good person and spend more of my money at a store. So I picked this up first. This is Ghostbusters for the Sega Master System. Of course, the NES version of this is infamous. I played it a lot as a kid, to be honest. I played the hell out of Ghostbusters on NES as a kid because I loved the Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters was such an important part of my childhood because of my older brothers. I saw Ghostbusters 1 and 2 countless times. I own the UHD collection of all 3 Ghostbusters movies. Yes, 4 Ghostbusters movie, if you count the video game as Ghostbusters 3. But yeah, I absolutely adore Ghostbusters. So I picked it up for the Sega Master System. And, what am I going to get for free? And I looked around, and again, that game, I believe, was $12. So, $12 to $13. So equal or lesser value has to be something basically $14 or below to get free. And ultimately, I decided on this, Star Trek Shattered Universe. I knew nothing about this game at the time. The plot revolves around Captain Sulu being sucked into the mirror universe and him being hunted by Chekhov. I love Star Trek. Star Trek has not had the best run when it comes to video games, but why the hell not? This was free, and so that was my logic getting this game is, if I ever decide to play Star Trek Shattered Universe on the original Xbox, I can. And it is not lost on me that I actually went in there trying to buy a Star Wars game for the original Xbox and walked out with a Star Trek game on the original Xbox. Moving into a few more items that I got as gifts here. The Callisto Protocol, controversial game right now, but a lot of the criticism doesn't really affect me all that much. I know there's questions about the play style, but I actually am not that hampered by what I've seen. So hopefully we'll go into it. Karen Fukuhara is in it, who I have a major crush on. But yeah, I'm excited to play it. We'll see how it goes. I don't really have much to say about it, other than I hope it's good. This was a gift, of course, that I've wanted for a while, Elden Ring. Now, I love the Soulsborne games. I adore the Souls series, as well as Bloodborne. Sekiro wasn't my favorite, but Dark Souls 1, 2, 3 and Bloodborne I absolutely adore. And so I've been waiting to play Elden Ring. And you're probably wondering why, and it's because Elden Ring and the Soulsborne series I associate a lot with my older brother. My older brother was the first in my family to get into the Souls series, and he didn't have the game yet. And so I gave it to him for Christmas. I got it for Christmas. And so what we're going to do is we're going to venture into Elden Ring together. Once we both complete the games that we're doing right now, we'll line it up so we can experience everything together, trade tips, and go at it like that. So yeah, I haven't experienced Elden Ring yet simply because it's a brotherly bonding experience for me. This one is one that I was excited for. Got it as a gift because I specifically mentioned I wanted it. It is the Atari 50th Anniversary Collection for the Switch. And in fact, this is the Collector's Edition. I know a lot of people shit on Collector's Editions. I really did want this because I do love Atari games. Unlike some people, I actually really do like to get collections of these older games. Now, of course, there are bad ones, there are good ones, but I like that these are being kept alive in the present day because I do really like my second-gen stuff. And so this is also an interesting game because it's not just the 2600. It's so easy for these to just become 2600 collections. No, this goes through so many of Atari's consoles, the 2600 of course, the 5800 or 5200, 7800, the Jaguar, as well as a few other, I think they actually have some of the 800 games on here, as well as the Lynx. And so I was excited to hear about this, and there's a history aspect to this. So game preservation is very important to me, and the fact that there are interviews and stuff in this game that talk about the history of Atari, what it was like to actually make these games, I'm excited. I wanted this game, and I'm glad that it exists, and I'm happy to have it. So, a few items that I picked up, again, as we go through it, because as you can tell, I'm kind of increasing in interest here. I walked into a game store, and I was expecting to buy Sega Saturn stuff. And that's because in this particular game store, I'd seen Sega Saturn stuff recently, and despite me not being the biggest Sega Saturn fan, I thought, well, I've got a little extra cash, maybe we'll see what they have there, get something nice. Went in there and there actually wasn't much. Somebody other than myself, which in this part of the country is very strange. I live in a very rural area. The only thing that people know about my area for at the moment is that several people were just violently murdered about 4 blocks that way. But right now, I'm a little bit surprised. So, okay, what am I going to get? And I moved down the case in this small game store, and I noticed they have a Jaguar game. And I actually don't have this game, and it's a Jaguar game that most people, I think, who own a Jaguar own, and it's Alien vs. Predator. And I looked at it and thought, in this part of the country, you don't often see Jaguar games come up, so I bought it. And it's funny because the kid at the register, this is a store that sells video games and Magic cards, as well as a few other card games, but they focus heavily on the Magic the Gathering stuff. And this kid was clearly the employee from the Magic side. I had to tell him what exactly the game I wanted was, what it looked like. I basically had to go over and point it out in the case for him to find it, because he did not know what a Jaguar game looked like. The other game I got there, similar thing, I had to kind of point to where this was at, is this, Mortal Kombat for the Sega 32X. I'm a Mortal Kombat fan. It's just out of frame, probably, is my arcade 1-up for Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3. I adore Mortal Kombat. I occasionally will play Mortal Kombat with a fellow from Adam Korlick's Discord. I always kick his ass because he sucks. But yeah, I always enjoy a good Mortal Kombat. It's kind of a silent goal of mine. I don't really act on this, but I would like to own copies of most of the versions of Mortal Kombat. I don't think I'm going to be tracking down the Tech Toy versions released in Brazil of Mortal Kombat 3 for the Master System, but with things like this, I'm happy to buy it. And yeah, it was in the exact same time I bought the Jaguar, and this kid who very friendly kid, was clearly more interested in selling magic cards than video games, but yeah, it was always the interesting experience. So the video game guy who I've dealt with in the past is going to come in and say, who the hell bought the Jaguar game and the 32X game? Now we get into the last three, and these actually came as gifts. These came as gifts that I specifically pointed out and asked for. I know that ruins the spirit of Christmas, but when you have somebody who's going to spend some money on you, you should probably get what you want. And so the first one here, not an original case, so got a decent enough deal on this. It's Christmas Nights into Dreams. I actually am not a big fan of Nights into Dreams. I do have the original. I have played it a few times. It's just not my cup of tea. But nonetheless, owning Christmas Nights, this is such a weird thing. You can even go in there and set the date with Nights. And if you set it past Christmas, I actually put this in on New Year's and got the New Year's message from it. So this is an interesting game. And yeah, I'm happy to have it. It's not my overall favorite, but nonetheless, it's a unique game from a unique period in time. The only other Christmas game I can think of is the PlayStation Grinch game, which I do own, and I actually loved the PlayStation Grinch game as a kid. There's that, and then I think Elf Bowling got like a DS version or a Game Boy Color version, something like that. But yeah, nonetheless, Christmas Nights, I'll read the back of it. 'Twas the nights before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. Well, maybe a virtual winter world filled with unbelievable real-time effects, fantastic creatures, and beautiful Christmas themes. Seasoned greetings from Sega. Prepare to fly. Next one is, again, this one is actually missing its back cover. So again, got a good deal on this one. I didn't, but the person who bought me this skipped. And so it's Dragon Force. Strategy RPG, interesting game. I did not know much about it before I saw it in the case. And I was just kind of looking at it and I thought, you know what? Not really something I want to get for myself, but something I would like to get for a gift. And so, yeah, I was interested in getting Dragon Force. It's here. Disc is still in there. And yeah, it even still has the registration card inside it. So despite the fact that it is missing the actual back cover, happy to have it. And after last time I said I was not a Sega Saturn guy, it looks like I'm now acquiring Sega Saturn games. Who would have thought? The final game is a weird game. It's a game that I think I want more as an oddity and maybe a game to collect than I want to play, which I know is a terrible thing to say. But I actually do want to play it, but more to bring people over and show them, look at this weird game. Look how strange this is. And that's Batman Forever, the arcade game on Sega Saturn. This game is weird. I don't know what's happening on the screen most of the time because of so much stuff happening. You can play as Batman or Robin. But yeah, this is such an odd game when you play it because there's stuff happening constantly on the screen in this game. It's not your standard beat 'em up. There's always, power-ups happening. There's always, lights flashing. It's almost, headache-inducing, which is very appropriate for Batman Forever because that movie is headache-inducing. I'm just gonna say it. Batman Forever is my least favorite Batman movie. It is not. It is not bad enough to be as entertaining as Batman and Robin. It's not good enough to be like the '89 or Batman Returns. It's not charming enough to be like the Adam West Batman movie. It's just this nothing movie that I really, really have a problem with. Coupled with the fact that the Riddler and Two-Face are my two favorite Batman villains. I love them both. I love the fact that Two-Face is this tragic character that is defined by his sense of justice and right and wrong and how warped that has become. And I love the Riddler for being this narcissist who, taunts the police and could be getting away with this if he didn't leave clues. And like the only one who's smart enough to figure it out is Batman. I adore those characters. And yeah, with this movie, I cannot sanction this movie's buffoonery. But nonetheless, this arcade game is so weird that I had to own it. It got some play recently on a few channels just because of how odd it is. I can say that it was not $7 when it was bought for me. I wish it was $7 when it was bought for me. But I'm leaving that sticker on because I think that's charming. I think that this game that people are now paying way too much money for at some point was $7. And so that concludes my Christmickups video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that I haven't deeply offended you in anything that I've said, and if I have, could you explain why? Because I don't think I said anything that was highly offensive. But yeah, I hope you had a happy holiday. I hope you had a happy new year. I hope the rest of your year goes wonderfully for you. And if it doesn't, well, that's not my fault.